So, this is my final video today with regards to the idea of exceptionalism. Happy St. Patrick's Day all. It's a very beautiful, bright St. Patrick's Day here in Ireland. Sun is shining, not very cold, a bit windy, very unusual for this time of year actually. But anyway, exceptionalism, yeah. This last video that I wanted to discuss is an idea that I brought up in the first video, and I kind of alluded to it in the second video as well. But in this third video, it's the dangers of this sort of exceptionalism to countries such as my own, Ireland, and other smaller countries in the world, and why this idea of exceptionalism is quite common with regards to larger, more powerful countries, and not so common with regards to smaller countries like mine. As I mentioned in the first video, in Ireland we don't really have this sort of idea of exceptionalism. We don't generally see ourselves as superior or better than anyone else. Yes, as I said, there is plenty of people who are racist here, who look down their nose on people who are from different culture, who've got different skin colour, different religion, etc. But as a whole, our culture is much more inviting. However, when it comes to larger countries, it's as if they have something to prove. They have to show the world that they are actually something special, that they are something to be feared or something to be admired to. And in particular, in relation to Russia, which wants everybody to fear it so that they won't go anywhere near it, and the USA, which wants everybody to admire it because it has a lot in the USA due to various different levels of propaganda and self-promotion in movies, in their history, in their society as a whole, seem to want everybody to have good feelings about the United States, and US citizens having this idea of, well, this isn't the US way, America is better than that, etc., etc. Look, first off, every country is going to go with its own national interest. Ireland, for example, we stayed neutral during World War II, not because we wanted to be neutral, but because it had only been about a generation since we had become independent. We became independent in 1922 and went straight into a civil war over that independence, which lasted until 1923 and 1924. This left a lot of bitter feeling in the Irish population with regards to our relationship with the United Kingdom. Coupled with that, we had an economic war with Britain, where Britain basically put sanctions upon us throughout the late 1920s and early 1930s. And with the Wall Street crash, the economic situation in Ireland was quite dire. So when it came to World War II, we couldn't really join the British because that would have started another civil war in Ireland, because the anger levels were still quite high. We didn't want to join the Nazis and the fascists because we could see exactly what they were doing, and even though there was an organisation in Ireland called the Blue Shirts who were very fascistic, they didn't have any real political power, and they didn't really have any say in what Ireland should or shouldn't be doing. So in 1936 we developed our own constitution, and as part of that, even though it's not actually in the constitution, we put forward the notion that Ireland would remain a neutral state. Even still, as our recent Prime Minister, or Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, put it a few years ago when the Ukraine and Russian war started, Ireland might be militarily neutral, but we are not morally neutral, we're not socially neutral. We do help out where we can, when we can. Looking from the outside, Ireland not joining the Allies in World War II would seem to be a very bad mistake, and we did suffer after the war because of it. But once you understand our own internal situation within Ireland, you can understand why we didn't do it. We stayed out of World War II because it would have caused a civil war within our own country, which would have left us weak for invasion by either the Germans or by the British. And so it was the only way we could really go. Was it the moral thing to do? No, it wasn't the moral thing to do. Especially when the full evil of the Nazi regime was coming to the fore, we could very easily have broken our neutrality and joined up with America and Britain against the Nazi regime. But we chose not to, because this is what we decided to do, and we're going to stick with it. On the side, by the way, Eamon de Valera did offer condolences for the death of Adolf Hitler, which was something particularly vile, but that was more condolences on behalf of him as an individual rather than him as the then Taoiseach, or Prime Minister of the Irish Free State. Getting back to the main point. Look, you forget about this idea of moral standing. There is no moral standing between countries in the world. Countries just go with what is convenient for them, what is useful for them. And you need to be absolutely clear about this, because if you continue going down the road of, oh, this is the moral thing to do, this is the right thing to do, you're going to be led by the nose by those who will manipulate it. Like, I just saw a video of a British commentator who is pro-war, part of the Brexit contingent of British politics, who was basically maintaining that Britain should get involved in the war in Iran because the Iranian regime had massacred thousands of their own civilians in the failed protests a few months ago. The thing is that Iran has been doing this sort of thing for years, if not decades. Every time there's a major protest, they usually come out with the guns, the tanks, and nobody has said anything about it. Now that Trump has gotten involved and gotten the Americans involved, all of a sudden it is all wringing of fingers, clutching of pearls. Oh, the poor Iranians, poor them. Like, we should get involved because we need to help them. Nobody cared about them up until this point. And yes, there should be help for them, but let's try to focus on how we're going to help them after the American and Israeli bombs stop dropping. The thing is that Trump's attack on Iran is a clear example of letting national moral standing lead you around by the nose into something that is basically amoral. There's no way you can avenge the deaths of thousands of people by killing thousands more by bombs. That's just not going to work. You want to take out the Iranian regime? Well, you just have to go in there with soldiers and remove them. That's the only way you can do it, right? Bombs from planes is not going to do it. And bombs from planes is hugely expensive, so the Iranians know full well you're not going to be able to keep this up in the long term. So, to make a long story short, once the Iranian situation is finished, we should be doing the moral thing of stepping in and trying to help them rebuild their country, no matter who's in charge, and hopefully build bridges that will allow them to feel less threatened by the West, especially now that America has shot itself in the foot. If we don't, guess who's going to come in instead? China. And Iran will become a firm ally of the Chinese, which is something I don't think anybody really wants. Okay, happy St. Patrick's Day again. Bye bye.